Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya udirayet nasta praeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktar bhavati nestiki. Can we read the translation together? Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Naranarayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Our verse for today is very close to this prayer. Very beautiful, powerful verse. So we started Bhagavatam Canto 5, Chapter 5 yesterday, and we discussed verse number 1. Can anyone give us a recap of what this chapter is and what we discussed yesterday?
So this chapter is Lord Rishabhadev instructing his 100 sons, and he starts off by saying, don't waste your life just looking for sense gratification, which is available even to the hogs. And then he goes on to say, I think that was the main point. Yeah. Anyone else?
Okay.
He was in the purport, Prabhupada talked extensively about how hard everybody is working nowadays. That they take like an hour to they wake up early to take like an hour to get to work, do some mundane, non-fulfilling job, take another hour to get home. And the only little satisfaction they get is a little bit of sex. And he was just saying, don't waste your life like this. The human body is meant for self-realization. So that was the point.
The Prabhupada says the pleasure that humans are endeavoring so much for is available to the hogs for free without even working for it. Yeah, very heavy. Did you want to say something? Oh, okay. There was something else in yesterday's translation, yesterday's verse, a very important concept, a very important word that I'm looking for. Tapasya. That was the crux of yesterday's verse. I'll just read the translation from yesterday. Lord Rishabhadev told his sons, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity, which is tapasya, One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. Which continues forever. I don't. Is this? Yeah, it is the word. Can you go to the Sanskrit? So the last line, Brahma Saukyam, spiritual, eternal spiritual happiness, bliss is. Prabhupada says, I think in the purport, that everyone is looking for happiness day after day. Everyone is seeking happiness, and because of which they are working like hogs and dogs for a tiny bit of pleasure. But he says human life is not meant for this. One should engage in penance and austerity voluntarily. Voluntary penance and austerity. Take up on themselves. And why? Because by doing so, the heart is purified, that verse says. And what happens when the heart is purified? Love awakens. And when love awakens, we are situated, Brahma Bhuta, we are situated in a transcendental plane of eternal happiness. So this was yesterday's verse. We will move on to verse 2, which is today's verse, which continues Rishabdev's teachings on. So in verse 1, he says he speaks about the importance of tapasya, importance of voluntary sacrifice, voluntary austerity, and why one should not waste their lives. And then he says how, one of the ways how one can do this austerity, perform this austerity. Mahatsevam dvaram ahurvimuktes tamodvaram yoshitam sangi sangam mahantaste samachitta prashanta Vimanyavasu hrida sadhavo ye Mahatsevam dvaramahur vimuktes Tamo dvaram yoshitam sangi sangam Mahantaste samachitta prashanta Vimanyavasu hrida sadhavo ye. Please repeat. Mahatsevam dvaramahur vimuktes Tamo dvaram yoshitam sangi sangam Mahantaste samachitta prashanta Vimanyavasu hrida sadhavo ye. Mahatsevam avrahur vimuktes Amo dvaram yoshitam sangi sangam Mahantaste samachitta prashanta Vimanyavasu hrida sadhavo ye. Mahatsevam dvaramahur vimuktes Tamo dvaram yoshitam sangi sangam Mahantaste samachita prashanta Vimanyavah surida satavoye. Synonyms together. Mahat Sevam, service to the spiritually advanced persons called Mahatmas. Dwaram, the way. Ahu, they say. Vimukte, of liberation. Tamah Dwaram, of the dungeon of the dark. Prashanta, very peaceful, situated in Brahma or Bhagavan. Vimanyavaha, without anger. One must distribute Krishna consciousness to persons who are hostile without becoming angry at them. Surida, well-wishers of everyone. Sadhava, qualified devotees without abominable behavior. Ye, they who. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Together, one can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. These personalities are impersonalists and devotees. Whether one wants to merge into the Lord's existence or wants to associate with the personality of Godhead, one should render service to the Mahatmas. For those who are not interested in such activities, they are very peaceful and are very engaged in devotional service. They are devoid of anger and they work for the benefit of everyone. They do not behave in any abominable way. Such people are known as Mahatmas. Would anyone like to read the purport?
The human body is like a junction. One may either take the path of liberation or the path leading to a hellish condition. How one can take these paths is described herein. On the path of liberation, one associates with Mahatmas, and on the path of bondage, one associates with those attached to sense gratification and women. There are two types of Mahatmas, the impersonalist and the devotee. Although their ultimate goal is different, the process of emancipation is almost the same. Both want eternal happiness. One seeks happiness in impersonal Brahman, and the other seeks happiness in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As described in the first verse, Brahma Sokyam. Brahman means spiritual or eternal. Both the impersonalist and the devotee seek eternal blissful life. In any case, it is advised that one become perfect. In the words of Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 2287, Asat Sanga Tyagai Vaishnava Achara Sri Sangika Sadhu Krishna Bhaktara. To remain unattached to the modes of material nature, one should avoid associating with those who are asat, materialistic. There are two kinds of materialists. One is attached to women and sense gratification, and the other is simply a non-devotee. On the positive side is association with Mahatmas, and on the negative side is the avoidance of non-devotees and women hunters.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachar Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharini. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Panchadattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanand Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrind. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Rishabdev, as he pointed out to austerity in the previous verse, and now he says he instructs his sons to serve spiritually advanced personalities, Mahatmas, which is one of the ways one can perform austerity, voluntary sacrifice, giving their time, their energy in the service of Mahatmas, of spiritual sadhus, spiritually advanced people, devotees. Does anyone remember the definition of Mahatma from Bhagavad Gita? Yes, that's one. There's one before. Yes. Yes. That is right. That is one definition of a pure devotee. Yes, true. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's also correct. I think there are multiple definitions. The one I'm looking for is Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such a great soul is very rare. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadit. Vasudeva sarvamiti. Such a great soul, who, after many, many births and deaths in this material world, finally comes to the realization that Vasudeva is all that be. Samam Bonam, the Krishna is everything, and then surrenders to Krishna. Such a great soul, Mahatma. Maha-Atma. Maha means great, and Atma is soul. Literal definition of Mahatma is a great soul. Shri Radha Kalachandji. So Rishabdev is instructing his sons, and through his sons he's instructing all of us to kindly please engage in the service of such advanced spiritual great souls whose only business in life is Krishna, is pleasing Krishna, is understanding Krishna, is loving Krishna, and telling others about Krishna. Such great rare souls must be found and served. And then he lists the qualities of such great souls. How do we identify someone like that? And he also says there's always a positive and a negative, a do and a don't, right? What's that verse that says all do's and don'ts should confide in Krishna? I don't know, it's in some Puran. Sarva vidhi nishedhya sur etavyo reva kinkara, right? That all do's and don'ts ultimately should confide in pleasing Krishna. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. Sorry? Smartavya satatam Smartavya Krishna. Vismartavya nachat. Yes. Never forget Krishna. So all do's and don'ts. So therefore in this verse also there is a do and there is a don't. Do is to associate and serve with great souls. And the don't is to not associate with who? People fond of women and sex. One should not associate with these people. Now, Prabhupada, in one of his talks, in several of his talks, he said that it applies both ways. So for women, it is women who are too attached to men. For them that is their, that should be avoided. And then he also said in a purport that the word in the Sanskrit, which is translated to women, is Yoshitam. And Prabhupada said in a talk that I was listening to yesterday for this verse, he said, Yoshitam basically means anything enjoyable, anything that can be enjoyed. So it doesn't have to be women, because women in this world is, for a man, it's the representation of Maya, or the representation of the ultimate enjoyable object. That's why it is grossly stated as that. But anything enjoyable. So people who are too attached to material enjoyment, people who are too attached, people who are too attached, too addicted to material life, to material pleasure, such people should be avoided. It is very interesting. This verse does not say, Rishabdev does not say that one should completely avoid material pleasure himself. But he said, stay away from the company of those who are too attached to material pleasure, because it begins from association. The root of desire is association. The kind of people we associate with, we absorb their consciousness, we absorb their desires, and we start thinking like them, we start desiring like them. And therefore there is so much focus on sadhu sangha, associating with devotees. There are all types of devotees. And so Rishabdev is very clear here. He's not saying associate with any devotee. Yes, we do associate with all types of devotees. But there's a slight difference in taking association, accepting that association, and then giving association. So it is said that devotees who are junior to us or on the same level, we should more give association or exchange. Then devotees who are higher to us in consciousness, we should accept, take their association. Because only spiritually advanced devotees who are higher than us have those purified, higher desires to serve Krishna. Sometimes we may see devotees of our peers or junior devotees may still not have those desires to serve Krishna. They're still struggling also in their lives. So if we take their association, then it may not be the best for our spiritual growth. And so Rishabdev is very clear here. Mahat Seva, he says Mahat, Mahatma. Great souls. Associate and serve great souls, not just any soul. So it's very important. Higher association. And like we discussed earlier, this serving devotees is a kind of austerity, as Rishabdev suggests in the previous verse. And austerity has to be performed because we have achieved this extremely rare human form of life. We keep hearing this, the human form of life is rare, extremely rare. But we don't completely realize how rare it is, because we see so many humans around us, so many devotees in this community, 8 billion humans on earth, massive number. Some countries even have a population problem. So we don't completely realize. But if you really take the statistics, number of humans to the number of other living entities, 8 billion humans, only the number of ants in this world is much, much, much more than humans. Ants. What to speak of all other insects? Can we even imagine? Can we even count how many insects, different types of insects are there on this world? All the types of animals. Fishes. It is said that every single year, some trillions of fishes are killed for food. So that's only every single year the number of fishes killed. So imagine how many fishes are there in the ocean, different types of fishes. Animals, birds, insects, and then what to speak of bacteria, viruses. Cannot even come close to even estimating the number of living entities on this planet. And then when you divide 8 billion humans by this denominator of massive, incalculable number, the ratio comes so close to zero, you cannot even 0.0000. It's like, and so that is human birth. That is how rare it is. And even after getting a human birth, life is so short. Life is extremely concise, very short. And if we waste this life, again, like hogs and dogs, hunting for sense pleasure, then Rishabdev is just saying that, why should we do that? Please use this life to voluntarily accept some austerity. Not because we should torture ourselves by accepting austerity, but because by accepting voluntary austerity, and not just any type of, not taking a whip and whipping ourselves, not that austerity, that is in the mode of ignorance. But austerity is like giving donation, coming to the temple, waking up early, chanting, serving devotees. These austerities, if we take up voluntarily, then there is some hope that our heart will be purified, and then maybe we can take benefit of this rare human form of life. The biggest fear for an aspiring devotee is leaving this body without the right consciousness. I was just thinking about this recently. That what if I were to die tomorrow in this present state of consciousness, and it's scary because I'm not ready. I'm not ready to forget about going back to home. I don't even know if I'll get a human birth, if my consciousness is right to even get a human birth again. And so this is how important it is. The biggest fear is to leave this body without having the right consciousness. And therefore, by doing austerity, there is some hope that the heart will be purified, real consciousness will awaken, and there will be a preparation for death, which can come at any time. Last night, my grandmother called me from India. Recently, in the recent years, she's always been spiritual and religious, my grandmother. But in the recent years, and she has given all her life for her family. Very dedicated woman. Very dedicated to her family, husband, kids, grandkids. But in the recent few years, she has had some very amazing realizations. And she was sharing some of that yesterday with me. She was opening her heart with me last night on call. And she said some very amazing things. She said, Narotham, when I look back at my life, I feel that she's 72. She said, I don't realize where 72 years of my life have passed away. I cannot make sense of it. I'm shocked to see that how 72 years of life have gone in vain. And she said, it's as if when you hold sand in your fist and when you turn your fist, just slips away, right? Sand runs off within seconds. She said, that's how I feel my life has slipped away from my hands. 72 years of life. And she said, I spent way too much time serving my family, dedicated to my family. Way too much time trying to please them and expecting their love in return. And she said, but now I just realized I feel that it was all in vain. Who was I trying to please? Who was I trying to serve? And she said, now I don't want to be attached to my family any longer. I don't want to be attached to my husband, my kids, my grandkids. She said, externally, I want to perform my duties still. She's such an amazing woman. She's like, even now in this age, she still feels dutiful towards her family. She still feels she has something to contribute. She is contributing. So she said, I still want to, externally, I will continue with my duties. But I want to become detached internally. I don't want to keep expecting from them, keep expecting pleasure from them. And I want to be attached to Krishna. I want to be attached to the devotees. She's reading Bhagavatam. She's read Bhagavatam several times in Hindi. Maybe she's reading it for the 7th time right now. I don't know. And she said, I don't know how much time do I have left. Death is coming. I can see death is very close. Death is coming soon. So all these things that we hear in our philosophy, she is practically having these realizations in her life. And here we are, or at least I am, in the age of 28, and I feel I have a long life. I think I have forever to work on my spiritual life. I have forever to work on my consciousness. And this is the biggest illusion that all people fall into, but especially devotees fall into this, that life is long. We have time. One philosopher said that the biggest, I think Marcus Aurelius said this, that the biggest illusion is that thinking that you have time. A lot of times, how many times do devotees think this, that I have time, to work on my Krishna consciousness. I have time. Let me postpone it. Today I am busy. I am rushing my rounds. I will chant attentively. There is time. Maybe next week. Maybe next month. No rush. I cannot chant with attention today. This week is busy. I have a business trip, or I have these services, or I have these engagements. This week or this month is busy. Let me do some half-hearted, just complete my rounds as a routine, as a chore. Maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe next year. Maybe in the next 20 years, I will develop attentive chanting. I will develop the habit of chanting properly, listening to my rounds. But I have time. How many times do we think like this? I have time to work on the quality of my service, work on my consciousness. We keep delaying, and I can speak for myself. It's been a long time, even though I'm young, but because I was born in the movement, and because since I took it seriously, it's been 10 years. And I feel I've been postponing for the last 10 years. I've been delaying. Even something as simple as chanting attentive rounds, I've been delaying. I feel like there is time. But if by good fortune, we are able to see old age, we arrive at old age and we are able to see. I'm sorry. Yes. Wake up call. If by some fortune, if we are able to see old age, then I'm afraid that we will have the same realization as my grandmother and many other people, that life has slipped away in making plans for family life, for other important activities. And we could not dedicate enough heart, we could not put enough heart in our practice throughout our life. We paid way too much more attention on things, temporary things, things of less importance, less consequence. We paid way too much attention, way too much heart into these things. And we missed the most important aspect, that is calling out to Krishna with some sincerity. And therefore, it is said the rarest thing in this world is advancement of consciousness. You can learn the most difficult skill, you can pick up the most difficult habit, you can achieve the most difficult goal, become the richest person, get the highest status, power. Anything is achievable by hard work, by karma. But what is not achievable by simple means is advancement of consciousness. So many times devotees look back in their lives, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40 years have passed, and they find that they are at the same level of consciousness. They have not moved forward. Yes, sometimes there is humility. In our humility sometimes, or some devotees in their humility may feel that I'm not making progress. But at other times, we also know in the heart of our hearts, we can see our habits, we can see the desires in our heart, we can see the reality, truth of our heart, and we can tell that actually I have not made much progress. In reality, I have remained in the same level of consciousness for years and years. Therefore, seva, tapasya, it's extremely important. Advancement of consciousness will only happen when the heart is further purified, and that will only happen through tapasya, through seva, service. That is what Rishabhdev is emphasizing on. Another thing that my grandma mentioned yesterday on call, she said that in her life's experience, she said, every person, even those closest to you, closest relationships, they only care about you to the extent to which you can serve their pleasure. People want your time, money, intelligence, power, influence, all the energies that come with you, all the opulences that come with you. People want to enjoy you, but don't care about your heart, what you want, who you are. They don't really care about you. This was her realization. And this reminded me of something Tamal Krishna Goswami said in a talk. He said that your closest relatives will become enemies if you become an obstruction in their sense gratification. And so her realization was that she said, Krishna wants something that nobody else wants, which is our heart. Everybody else is asking for your opulences, your money, status, power, what you can do for them, how you can serve them. But Krishna is demanding your heart, which everyone else has rejected, nobody else wants. If we make certain relationships in our life the center of our life, then that means that we are trying to derive all pleasure from that center. If any relationship is the center of my life, then I'm trying to derive most pleasure from that. And therefore I'm doomed to be disappointed because I cannot derive pleasure from a material relationship. And therefore it is very important that externally we remain in those relationships, perform our duties, but constantly cultivate detachment in our heart. And try to bring Krishna to the center more and more. That is the way of spiritual life. So, dear devotees, life can be really difficult. Relationships can be really difficult. Circumstances can be really difficult. All these challenges, all these heartbreak, pain that we suffer, all of this can be successful if it leads us to Krishna. Voluntary or involuntary suffering, if it leads us to Krishna, then it is successful. That's what Kunti Mata prays also. And therefore, when we accept voluntary suffering, again to the point of tapasya, sometimes life throws suffering, sometimes life throws difficult people, difficult relationships, situations, pain, heartbreak in our life, which we cannot control. And other times we accept voluntarily some suffering, some voluntary sacrifice. And all this voluntary and involuntary challenges, ultimately our consciousness in these challenges is what leads us to Krishna. If we are in the right consciousness, we can think of everything as the mercy of Krishna, as something orchestrated by Krishna for our purification, for bringing us back to Him, then we can make some advancement. We can have some hope. And a very prominent disciple of Srila Prabhupada, His Grace Bhuri Chand Prabhu, very amazing devotee. He was once walking in India, I think in Vrindavan, and he saw a sugarcane machine in India. Has anyone seen a sugarcane machine in India? Yes, many of us. A sugarcane machine has these heavy metallic wheels that roll. And the vendor puts sugarcane in between those wheels, and the wheels crush this sugarcane stick, and the juice then is extracted and collected in a container below. So Bhurijan Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, some years ago he was walking on the streets of Vrindavan, and he saw this vision, this sight of a sugarcane machine. And a beautiful prayer manifested in his heart. He said, "May the hard crushing wheel of life extract some humility from my offense hardened heart. And may the nectar of this humility give rise to pure love for Krishna." And so it points back to the same point that any suffering, if it extracts humility, if it extracts that feeling, if it directs us to Krishna, it's successful. Life will be hard. Life's wheels are hard, crushing, they crush us. Many devotees have very, very extreme, painful experiences, situations. But if this hard crushing wheel of life extracts some humility from our heart, which means the heart is purified, then that humility will help us develop pure love for Krishna. May the nectar of that humility give rise to pure love for Krishna. That is what Brahma prays in 10th canto. A person who patiently suffers the reactions of his past misdeeds all the while offering obeisances unto you with heart, body, and mind, he is eligible for liberation. So, dear devotees, we may say that spiritual life is difficult, we don't have taste. We cannot chant with absorption, we cannot chant with taste. We can say that. We say that it is true. It is difficult to chant, it is difficult to perform spiritual activities, practice without absorption, without taste. How long can we chant this dry japa, these dry rounds, without feeling anything inside? But the conclusion of the scriptures and the acharyas is that taste and absorption is a gift that is given. And it is an extremely invaluable gift. Nothing in this material world can compare to this gift of taste and absorption. And so these gifts are actually received and appreciated and valued by a heart that has been purified by tapasya. And what is tapasya ultimately? Tapasya means doing something which is pleasing to the gurus, to the mahatmas, against our conditioning of trying to please the mind and body and the false ego, especially when it is difficult. Trying to please the mahatmas against our conditioning is tapasya. And only a satisfied teacher, only a satisfied guru, a satisfied devotee can award us taste and absorption. And only a purified heart can appreciate and accept this gift of absorption. Therefore, the goal is satisfaction of the spiritually advanced devotees with our concerted efforts at purifying the heart. Trying to satisfy the devotees and trying to purify the heart. Purify the heart from what? From yearning, from everything temporary and yearning for that which is eternal. All temporary attachments must be subsided, must be removed with time, with practice. And we must try to serve the devotees, advanced devotees, and yearn deeply, lolyam, deep desire, deep greed for the eternal, for Krishna. That is the goal. That is what this verse aims at. Thank you very much. I'm sorry we went over time. Thank you for listening patiently and attentively. Any questions or comments? Please. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. That was a very good class. I want to thank you for bringing up the story about your grandmother, because that just went right to my heart, because I am living what she's saying right there. I'm 66 and I've spent my life taking care of my family, and I just realized that time is wasting and I don't know how much I have left, and so I just left my younger grandchildren and drove 2,000 miles to dedicate the rest of my life to Krishna. And Nityananda Prabhu told me to go back to when I was 20 and think about what I would say to people who are 20. And I would say, focus on Krishna. Don't spend your life attached to people and materialism. A lot of times it feels selfish, though. It's hard because it feels selfish. So you telling the story about what your grandmother had to say helped my heart with that. Helped me realize that I'm not the only one who realizes that it's time to focus, and don't wait. It's my advice.
Wonderful. Prabhupada once said, someone told Srila Prabhupada that spiritual life is for the old people he said it's for the old people Young people don't have to bother about it. And Prabhupada said, what is the definition of old? And he said, someone who is close to death is old. And Prabhupada said, by that definition, everyone is old because everyone is close to death. You don't know how long you will live. And so, right now is the right time to focus, to take this seriously. Thank you for sharing.
I have something to add on. I asked my grandma, when you were young, do you have any goal in your life? If you have, what is your goal? And then she said, yeah, I have a goal. And I said, what is that? Because nowadays everyone have this goal, oh, I want to travel the whole world, complete my travel list and this. So I want to know what is a goal. And then she said that my goal was, I want to see all my kids grown up. I said, huh? That's your goal? She said, yeah. I said, of course kids will grow up and you know what you're saying. She said, yes, I serve them. I just want to see them grown up, start working, get a good job, have a good life, That's a goal. Like that, like very traditional woman, like just think about family, But you know what happened later on? My uncles say that she's stupid. She, every time, whatever, my grandma, very nice, very gentle, very shy person, always serving, and he just keeps saying she's stupid, stupid idiot, like that. No appreciate at all, including my mom. Useless kids, I would say, so why? You're serving them your whole life. You say that that's your goal, but look what your kids say to you, and she still, it's okay. What to do, So it's like an eye-opening to me, like I'm scared. Okay, even though you have kids next time, don't expect anything from them. Just raise them, in Krishna conscious, whatever, you try your best, but the outcome, you leave it to Krishna,
Yeah. Yeah. All this effort and heart, we put so much heart into our family, especially women put so much heart into their kids, grandkids. For what? But because some may reciprocate, some may not, and sometimes they become the source of misery. We have so many examples in scriptures where children become the source of pain. Maharaj Chitraketu, his son was born and died, become the source of great pain. So many kings had bad sons who became the source of so much suffering and pain. Sorry, King Vena. My aunt is a doctor, and she said once there was a very old woman in ICU she was operating on. And this woman was about to die anytime. And she was begging the doctors to please increase her life by a few days, but please somehow delay her death by a few days. And the doctor inquired, you are so old, you have all your kids here, why do you want to suffer for a few more days? And she said, my 9th great-grandchild is going to be born, and I want to see him. This woman was not satisfied by tens of kids, tens of grandkids, and 8 great-grandchildren. She wanted to see the 9th one before she dies. So this is the truth of family attachment, how strong it is. Thank you.
Yeah, so like to add on, my mother-in-law, she contribute to her family so much. Like take the kid to music club, martial arts, here, there, so much. Then she told me that she want to take birth again in this family. And I say, why? Why? I say, why? You're doing deity dressing, you're doing service, you don't come back. Why you want to come back? She said, because I have attachment. I love this family. I want to come back again to be one of their grandkids or daughter, in the family. I say, but who gonna know you? Like you're the one come back. I say, I don't care, but I want to come back. I want to see how this family grow and all. What's the whole point, I don't get it. What's the whole point? But because of you serve too much, then attachment build up, So what's the whole point? I don't know.
The desire of the soul to become attached to someone is so strong. In the absence of Krishna, the soul attaches onto these temporary things. Family being the foremost, because when there is absence of Krishna in one's life, the soul has to be attached. The soul wants to love someone, something, and so family is everything. Please.
Hare Krishna, thank you for a really beautiful class. This morning we were reciting the 10 offenses, and I was I always think about this one, to maintain material desires, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. And I'm 23, I still have a lot of things to do in my life, probably. I don't think I have it in me to renounce and become a, Vanaprastha in Vrindavan or something, although I wish I could. So what's the difference between, if I do pursue a career, pursue a family, all of these things, how am I not committing that offense of maintaining material desires, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter? Where is that line?
Well, desiring to have a family and a career is not necessarily completely material desires. It is varnashrama, which is approved by Krishna. Grihast life, grihast ashram. And when you are in grihast ashram, you must have a source of income, a career, to maintain your family, your kids. So therefore, the desire to have a family, kids, or desire to have an income is not necessarily material desires. It is a step towards gradual progression of an ashram, a safe ashram, ashray, shelter. So family life, home life is a safe environment. It's a shelter by which we can be secure, and then we can practice spiritual life. And so if it is used to advance in spiritual life, then it is beneficial. But if that becomes the center of our life, and then Krishna is sidelined, then that is troublesome. It is very risky, extremely risky. Yes.
Krishna. Yeah. This is a very interesting topic. I'll make it short because I don't want to hold everyone up. But yeah, it's as a person from a devotee family, I do think it's very much different for devotees. And also, like, my spiritual master, he's a grahastha, and he's in his 70s, and he often quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who says that he woke up one day and his house was Goloka Vrindavan. So there is, just as we've been saying, it's kind of like a fine line, but there is definitely scope for seeing it as your service, as everyone knows already. And also, we see that sometimes the children can liberate the parents, like Prahlad Maharaj, or yeah, it's also in the story of Dhruva Maharaj. Prabhupada in the purport says that the disciple can sometimes liberate the guru, even if the disciple, is at that stage. So, yeah, we should. Lord Rishabhadev, he goes on further in this chapter to say that one should not become a parent or a guru or a teacher if they can't liberate their dependents. But also we see that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that if I could have a pure devotee child, I would have millions of children. Or I forgot the number he said, but that this is also the other side of it. I guess to balance it out is that producing nice Krishna conscious children is, arguably the best preaching you could do. You're raising a devotee from, day one to day, who knows. But yeah, the danger is when it becomes on the bodily concept instead of on the soul concept. And when it becomes attachment to the last name, I want to be a Johnson, but not that you see them as souls and devotees. So yeah, it was just a small thought I wanted to share.
Yeah. What you said, that 10th, is it the 10th offense or the 9th offense? I think the 10th offense. Yeah, it says maintaining material attachments even after hearing so many instructions. So, family life is not really condemned, but maintaining the attachment to them is really can be troublesome. One may argue that, it is not possible to raise kids without being attached to them. It's true, and therefore that is naturally given to a parent, especially to mothers, that strong attachment. But once the kids are at an age that, they can take care of themselves, then one should try to develop that detachment. Practice that, at least internally. Try to, yeah.
I was just looking at this picture, and it's Lord Rishabhadev, and he has his 100 sons. That's that's a astounding number of children to have. So, yeah, just something to think about. The person who's even speaking this is showing by example that he is liberating his sons. He's liberating his predecessors, not predecessors, whatever you call it. Yeah. He's showing the example at the same time.
Yes, he time and again the Lord shows such examples, and he instructed his 100 sons who were of age on how to live life, gave them spiritual instructions. And then Rishabdev, he became a madman and left home, became a sadhu, became a madman and left home. He showed that detachment in practice. The very qualification of becoming a parent is, like Drishtadyumna said in the verse, in the following verses, Rishabdev will say that one should not become a parent if they cannot liberate their children from material life. So that is the number one qualification, and that gives us the whole orientation. The entire goal of becoming a parent is to raise Krishna conscious children. And if we are raising Krishna conscious children, then how can we act, how can we ourselves be materially attached if we don't have that? So yeah, it's a very high aspiration, it's a high goal, but that should be practiced at least. Thank you very much. We will end here. Srila Prabhupada ki